Good afternoon to everybody. Shabbat Parshat Shemot. We're starting off a new book, and today, or beforehand, this last week was the Yotzat of the Hachoshen of Aryeh, Leib, Heller. He was actually a Kohen, descendant of the Tosfot Yom Tov. You can see from the Koteret, from the headline, that he was born in 1745 and that he passed away 1812. He was he's known by the Ketzot Hachoshen because that's one of three books that he published. This book, the Ketzot Hachoshen, which is a running commentary, which is a commentary on the part of the Shulchan Aruch which deals with monetary and damages, monetary laws, damages. It's not part of the religious rights, but it's that part of Shulchan Aruch. It's an absolute classic. It's sort of like they make a joke in the yeshivot that sometimes people know the Gemara because of the Ketzot Hachoshen. But really, it's such a classical work that the entire, it was really accepted by everybody. I just want to tell you actually. A lot of these stories are, I haven't checked them out 100%. This is what they say, but even if it is legend or whatever, I think in this case, this particular story that I'm sharing with you is actually like fact. But it just shows you to what esteem the Ketzot Hachoshen was held in. So when he wrote this Ketzot Hachoshen, he went to get approbation from one of the endorsement from one of the Gdolim, and the Gdolim, one of the Gdolim, he wasn't so sure what is there already for him to add on. After all, there was classical works that were written about it beforehand. So anyway, he decided that he's going to look through this book of the Ketzot Hachoshen during the night time. And the next day, what he did was he made an announcement that there's going to be Achnasat Sefer Torah at such and such a place. The Ketzot Hachoshen of Aryeh Leib wanted to participate in the Achnasat Sefer Torah, and to his amazement, afterwards, when they wanted to come closer, and he wanted to hold the Torah, they saw that underneath, what was seemed to be the sheet, which seemed like a Sefer Torah, was none other than the manuscripts of his works. That just shows you to what a degree the Ketzot Hachoshen was held. And another fact, not just a legend, even though the Ketzot Hachoshen was a big nugget, and nevertheless, all the Hasidim held him in tremendous esteem. Raphael and others. In fact, there was a time that he put the Hasidim in his particular shtetl into Chayrim for about 30 days, and when they came to complain about it to other Hasidic leaders, they said, we're not saying anything, and that you don't know how great the Ketzot Hachoshen is. So, yes, his works on Choshen Mitzvah, the Ketzot Hachoshen, which was a commentary, but such brilliant new commentaries and insight in all to the laws of monetary matters is just an absolute classic. So he was born in 1745. He was very poor. Ketzot Hachoshen it's unbelievable how the abject poverty that he lived through. That everyone says he used to hold the ink before he wrote his work under blankets during the winter, because he didn't want the ink to freeze. He didn't even have enough wood to warm himself. So he also had a tremendous love of the Torah. That was part of the law, L-O-R-E, of an ethos of Lithuanian Jewry. He, even though he was born in Galicia, it's just pashut. That's what the Lithuanian Jewries and Talmidei Chachamim were known for, their absolute passion and love for the learning of Torah. So in his Hakdama, one of his introductions into the Ketzot Hachoshen, he wrote two other books, But he quotes from the Zohar that when a person makes novel explanations, he recites authentic novel explanations to the Torah, Hashem takes these words, so to speak, of the Torah, and he kisses them and he creates with them like new worlds on high. But this quote from the Zohar is exactly, it all shows you that absolute passion and love, how much that people had for Limud HaTorah. The last very salient point which I want to say about the Ketzot Hachoshen is, if you look in his introduction, his preface to the work, he speaks about the greatness of Torah Sheba'al Peh, about the oral Torah, and basically the gist of what he's saying is that there's two parts to the Torah. There's a written Torah. Let's call the written Torah absolute Torah. Absolute truth, sorry. And then there's Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah, which is developed through the sages, through every single generation, which let's call it the relative truth. So there's absolute truth and the relative truth. And that's how he interprets the bracha of the Torah that we make in the Torah. Asher bachabanu mikol amin v'natananu et Torato. And then also in the second bracha that we make, Asher natananu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us Torat emet. He gave us the absolute truth, and he put Chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu. He gave it to us to implement it and to develop it in our world. That's the relative truth, and that's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants that, even though we as human beings cannot fathom the absolute truth, but he wants us to decide the truth on the basis of our minds. Vadai, person who's learned as he should and according to the laws and criteria and the principles of the Torah. That's what Hashem wants. It's not just only, what's interesting is so much about what he says. It's not just a concession to the limitation of a human being. But when it says that Hashem gave us Torah Sheba'al Peh, he gave us something which is emet, it's, as I say, not it's a concession, it's a desire. Hashem wants us to participate in the spreading of his knowledge and the development of his knowledge. So that's why it's called, this is how this is an interpretation of what it says in Mishlei. We sing it on the Friday night. It says, Pia patcha b'chochma v'torat chesed ad-leshona. The Gemara in Masechet Sukkah says, what do you mean? Is it Torah shel chesed and the Torah not shel chesed? Is a Torah of kindness and the Torah not of kindness? And the Gemara in the end says a Torah not of kindness is a Torah that's not taught, a Torah or a Torah that's not learned lishma, and a Torah of chesed is a Torah lishma and a Torah of kindness. So the Ketzot Hachoshen is saying it's a Torah of kindness because Hashem has granted us, right? We know that we're not going to produce an absolute truth, but we're going to at least produce a Torah which is relatively true and which is full of kindness. Right, so that's what he said. Okay, let's go on to the Parsha, which has got something to do. I mean, his word is called Ketzot Hachoshen. That's his work. Ketzot Hachoshen means the ends of the Choshen. The Choshen is part of the breastplate. That's what his works are called. But now I'm just having an association, but it's not something that he said. But in the Parasha, we read about Moshe arguing with Hashem for days and days on end that he doesn't want to go and be the leader who's going to take the Jewish people out of Mitzrayim. I think in years before we've tackled that problem a little bit. How can a person who sees the suffering of the Jewish people make such a fuss and argue with Hashem and not want to go and to save his brethren? I mean, to sit and argue for a whole week and more, why doesn't he just go and do something if Hashem's saying that he should go and save the Jewish people? Okay, so we spoke about, I think, last year or the year before. But afterwards, one of the criteria or one of the reasons for his objection was that he felt that it wasn't right that he eclipsed his older brother's role, who was Aaron, And he said, it's not right. Why should I be the one? Aaron's perfectly capable. He's a prophet. He's got beautiful midot. He is a leader. Why shouldn't he be the one? Why as I, the younger brother, should I take on the mission of bringing the people out? So Hashem said, don't worry about that. I'm telling you that Aaron, when he sees you, he is going to help you, number one, because he'll be like, he doesn't stutter. Right? We spoke about that once before. In other words, he's able to put coherently these great, lofty thoughts in a way that people can understand. So you don't have to worry of the fact that you stutter. And number two, as far as the jealousy is concerned, he's going to see you and he's going to be happy at your success. And that's what the Torah describes. Exactly that. That what he did was he went out when after this meeting with Hashem in the burning bush. Moshe meets Aaron. Aaron hugs him, kisses him, very, very happy at his seeing Moshe and being told that he's going to be the leader to take the Jewish people out. So the Mara says, and the Midrash says, that in the reward that Aaron was so happy at the success of his brother, even at his expense, right, Samach Libo, that his heart was gladdened. So Hashem gave him a gift that as a Kohen, he was granted the breastplate, which is on the heart of the Kohen. The breastplate is made of 12 stones engraved with with the letters of each tribe. And that was the gift that Aaron was given because he was happy at the success of Moshe. So his heart was gladdened and he got something that was like an ornament, a jewelry that he put on his heart, which is the Hachoshen. So Rav Abraham Shapira, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the Rosh Hashiva of Merkaz Harav, he explains it so beautifully and much more. I mean, he shows us now how to learn. He says it's not like a technicality that, okay, because he was happy in his heart, so now he's getting an ornament to put on his heart. It's much greater than that. What he explains is as follows. He quotes from in Mishlei. It says in Mishlei, you can write it down. It's chapter 15 and verse number 30. It says, Ma'or einayim yesamach leib. Shmu'a tova tidashen etzem. It says the light of the eyes makes the heart happy. What does it mean that the light of the eyes makes the heart happy? The Metzudat David says as follows, that the light of the eyes is when the light of the eyes are enlightened. In other words, when the person understands something, that makes the heart happy. So I'll read it to you in Hebrew. It says, when a person his eyes becomes enlightened on something that he's got a doubt on, then his heart will be gladdened. There's no greater happiness in the world than taking away doubts that a person's got. The greatest happiness is that in life, the doubts that linger in our mind, doubts, not knowing something properly, all sorts of fuzziness, the more that we take and remove the doubts from our heart, the happier that we are. So now Rav Shapira says that's the pshat, that is the reward that he got, because Aaron was a person who was so happy that his brother was successful and he didn't have any envy or jealousy whatsoever. So Hashem gave him the greatest simcha. What is that greatest simcha? That he had on his heart the breastplate. Why? What did the breastplate do? Whenever the Jewish people had a doubt, they came to Aaron HaKohen and they asked him a question. And via the breastplate, which was a form of Ruach HaKodesh, he got the answer to their problem. Certain stones would light up, and on those stones there was a letter of the tribe, and then what he would do is he would read those letters, and that would then bring the solution, and that would then prevent, right, that would be the answer to the question, and the doubt was solved. So that's what that was the midah keneged midah. He was happy at his brother, so Hashem gave him happiness. And what is the greatest happiness? The happiness is not to have any doubt. Right? That was what the breastplate did, that it solved all doubts. Shabbat shalom.